It was a beautiful fall evening in St. Joseph, Minnesota. The date was October 22nd, 1989. 11-year-old Jacob Wetterling was full of life. He was a good kid, the kind of boy every parent hopes for. That night he was doing what kids do. He was with his younger brother Trevor and his best friend Aaron. They had gone to a local convenience store on their bikes. They rented a movie and bought some candy. It was a simple, happy moment. They were just kids, enjoying the last bit of daylight before heading home. The air was getting cool, but their spirits were high. They felt safe in their small town. No one could imagine the darkness that was waiting for them just down the road. As they rode their bikes and a scooter home, their path was suddenly blocked. A man appeared from the darkness of a driveway. He was holding a gun. He wore a mask over his face, hiding his identity from the terrified children. The man's voice was low and gravelly. He ordered the boys to get off their bikes and lie face down in the ditch. Their hearts pounded in their chests. This wasn't supposed to happen here, not in their town. The man asked them their ages. He grabbed Jacob. He told the other two boys to run into the woods. He warned them not to look back, or he would shoot. That was the last time they saw Jacob. Trevor and Aaron did as they were told. They ran for their lives, filled with a fear no child should ever know. They didn't dare turn around. They just ran, their feet pounding against the ground until they reached the safety of their homes. They burst through the door, breathless and crying, trying to explain the nightmare that had just unfolded. The innocence of their childhood was shattered in that single, terrifying moment. The ordinary night had turned into a horror story. A brother and a friend were safe, but Jacob was gone. The man in the mask had vanished with him into the night, leaving behind only fear and confusion. The news spread like wildfire through the small community of St. Joseph. A child had been taken. It was unthinkable. Parents held their own children a little tighter that night. Doors were locked, porch lights were left on, a silent vigil for the missing boy. The police were called immediately, and the search for Jacob Wetterling began. But as the hours turned into days, a terrible realization began to set in. This was not a simple case of a lost child. A predator had walked among them. He had stolen a boy from his family, from his friends, from his life. The quiet town of St. Joseph, Minnesota was now the center of a parent's worst nightmare. The immediate response from the community was incredible. People from all over wanted to help. They didn't know the Wetterlings personally, but they didn't need to. A child was missing, and that was enough. Hundreds of volunteers showed up to search. They walked through fields, forests, and along riverbanks. They checked every barn and abandoned building. They were driven by a single, desperate hope to find Jacob and bring him home safely. The search was massive, one of the largest in Minnesota's history. It showed the true power of a community coming together in a time of crisis. Everyone was united in their mission to find this little boy. The search for Jacob quickly became more than just a local story. It captured the attention of the entire country. His picture was everywhere. It was on milk cartons, on posters in store windows, and on television screens across America. The media coverage was relentless. Jacob Wetterling became a household name. His case struck a chord with parents everywhere because it could have been their child. It shattered the illusion that kids were safe in their own neighborhoods. It made people realize that this kind of evil could exist anywhere, not just in big cities. Jacob's disappearance became a symbol of a lost innocence for the whole nation. For years, the investigation continued, but it hit one dead end after another. The police followed thousands of leads. They interviewed countless suspects, but the man in the mask remained a ghost. The case grew cold, but it was never forgotten. For law enforcement, it was a frustrating and heartbreaking puzzle. They had so little to go on from that dark country road. The lack of evidence made it nearly impossible to find a solid lead. Despite the challenges, dedicated investigators kept the case file open. They refused to give up, even as the years stretched on with no answers. The mystery of what happened to Jacob Wetterling haunted them. The Wetterling case changed the way we thought about missing children. Before Jacob, these cases were often treated as local matters. But Jacob's story showed that a child's abduction is a national tragedy. It forced law enforcement agencies to work together in new ways. It led to better coordination between local, state, and federal authorities. The case highlighted the need for a more organized and urgent response when a child goes missing. It became a benchmark for how these investigations should be handled. The search for one boy in Minnesota started a conversation that would change how America protects its children forever. In the middle of this unimaginable tragedy stood Jacob's parents. Patty and Jerry Wetterling. They faced their pain with incredible strength and courage. Instead of hiding from the world, they spoke out. They shared their story with anyone who would listen. They kept Jacob's face in the public eye. Patty, in particular, became a powerful voice for her son. She never spoke of Jacob in the past tense. She always held on to hope. Her message was simple and powerful. Jacob, we're waiting for you. We'll never stop looking for you. Her determination inspired millions and turned her personal grief into a public crusade for justice. The Wetterlings knew they couldn't just wait for answers. They had to take action. They channeled their grief into helping other families who were going through similar nightmares. They co-founded the Jacob Wetterling Foundation, an organization dedicated to preventing the exploitation of children. Their goal was to create a world where every child could grow up safe. They worked tirelessly, advocating for stronger laws and better resources for missing children. They turned their personal tragedy into a force for good. They were determined that no other family should have to endure the pain they were feeling. Their work gave hope to countless others. Patty Wetterling's advocacy had a huge impact. She traveled to Washington, D.C. and spoke before Congress. She shared her family's story and pushed for change. Her efforts were a key part of creating the Jacob Wetterling Crimes Against Children and Sexually Violent Offender Registration Act in 1994. This federal law was a game-changer. It established the first national sex offender registry. It required states to track individuals convicted of crimes against children. This law made communities safer. It gave law enforcement a critical tool to prevent future crimes. It was a direct result of one family's refusal to give up. Through all the years of not knowing, the Wetterlings' message remained consistent: hope. They created the 11 traits for Jacob, focusing on the positive qualities their son embodied, like being kind, fair, and thoughtful. It was a way to honor his memory and encourage others to live with those same values. They wanted the world to remember Jacob not for how he disappeared, but for the bright and loving boy he was. Their strength was a beacon of light in the darkness. They taught us that even in the face of the worst kind of loss, you can still fight for a better world. They never gave up hope that one day, they would find out what happened to their son. For 27 long years, the mystery of Jacob's disappearance remained unsolved. The case was a constant presence in Minnesota, a wound that never fully healed. Then, in 2016, there was a breakthrough. The FBI received new information that led them to a man named Danny Heinrich. He had been a person of interest early in the investigation but was never charged. This time, investigators had enough evidence from another case to pressure him. In a shocking turn of events, Heinrich confessed. He led authorities to a farm field not far from where Jacob was taken. There, after nearly 3 decades of searching, Jacob Wetterling's remains were found. The confession brought a devastating end to the mystery. Heinrich told the horrifying story of what happened that night in 1989. He admitted to kidnapping, assaulting, and murdering Jacob. The truth was worse than anyone could have imagined. For the Wetterling family, it was the end of a long and painful journey of uncertainty. The hope of finding Jacob alive was gone forever. But finally, they had answers. They could bring their son home and give him a proper burial. The news sent waves of grief across the nation. Everyone who had held on to hope for Jacob mourned with his family. The long wait was over, but the pain was fresh all over again. Jacob Wetterling's story is a powerful reminder of the impact one life can have. His disappearance changed America. It made us more aware of the dangers children can face. It led to laws that have protected countless kids. The National Sex Offender Registry, which exists because of this case, is a vital tool for law enforcement. Jacob's case taught us the importance of a rapid, coordinated response when a child goes missing. It also showed the incredible power of a community and a family that refuses to give up. We learned that we have to be vigilant. We have to look out for each other's children as if they were our own. Remembering Jacob is about more than just a tragic story. It's about honoring his legacy of hope. His mother, Patty, said it best. Jacob's life was not in vain. His story is a call to action. It reminds us to be kind, to be fair, and to be honest, the traits his family promoted in his honor. It reminds us to work for a world where all children are safe from harm. The darkness that took Jacob from his family also created a light. It sparked a movement that made our country safer for kids. We must never forget Jacob Wetterling. We must continue the work that started in his name so that every child can have the safe childhood that was stolen from him.